Please don't let them take me away from Mama, the little girl sobbed into her teddy bear, not knowing anyone was listening. I'll be good forever. I promise I'll never ask for anything again. The words hit Damon Carter like a punch to the chest. He had been walking past the pediatric ward's family room when he heard the heartbreaking plea. Through the half-open door, he saw a small girl with curly red hair sitting alone on an oversized chair, her thin legs dangling as tears rolled down her freckled cheeks. Hello, friends. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please support me by subscribing to my channel, like and share this video to your family and friends. I truly appreciate your kind heart. So, let's begin. Damon had built his tech empire by making quick decisions, but this moment froze him completely. Something about the child's desperate whisper reminded him of his own childhood prayers, the ones that had gone unanswered when he was her age. He pushed the door open gently. Hey there, he said softly, not wanting to scare her. The little girl looked up, startled. Her green eyes were red from crying, and she clutched her worn teddy bear tighter. I'm sorry, mister. I didn't mean to be loud. You weren't loud at all, Damon said, kneeling down beside her chair. I'm Damon. What's your name? Emma, she whispered. Emma Rose Patterson. That's a beautiful name, Emma Rose. Damon noticed the hospital bracelet around her tiny wrist and the way she held herself, like she was trying to make herself as small as possible. Are you okay? You seem upset. Emma's bottom lip trembled. The lady from the office came today. She said if Mama doesn't get better soon, I might have to go live with strangers, but I don't want strangers. I want my Mama. Damon's heart clenched. Where is your Mama right now? She's sleeping in room 314. The doctors gave her medicine that makes her very sleepy. Emma wiped her nose with her sleeve. She has cancer. That means she's really, really sick. The innocence in how she explained such a devastating situation nearly brought Damon to tears. He had walked into this children's hospital as the CEO of Carter Technologies, planning to write a check and leave. He never expected to meet a 6-year-old girl who would completely unravel him. Emma Rose, can I tell you something? Damon sat cross-legged on the floor so they were at eye level. She nodded, hugging her teddy bear. When I was your age, I was scared a lot too. I know exactly how you feel right now. Really? Emma's eyes widened. Were you sick too? No, but my mama was very sad and my daddy... Well, I didn't have a daddy around to help. Damon chose his words carefully. But you know what I learned? Emma shook her head. Sometimes when we're scared, the best thing we can do is ask for help from people who care. And sometimes, those people show up in ways we never expected. Emma stared at him for a long moment. Then, in a voice so quiet he almost missed it, she said, Sir, will you be my daddy for just one day? The question hit him like lightning. What did you say, sweetheart? Tomorrow is bring your daddy to school day, Emma said, her words coming faster now. All the kids get to show off their daddies and what they do for work. But I don't have a daddy. I never had one. And Mama is too sick to come pretend to be a daddy like she did last year. Damon felt something crack open inside his chest. You want me to come to your school? Emma nodded eagerly. You look very important in your fancy suit. The other kids would think you're really cool. And maybe if I have a daddy for just one day, God will see that I'm a good girl and make Mama better. The simple faith in her words nearly destroyed him. Damon had forgotten what it felt like to believe in anything with such pure hope. Here was this little girl, facing the possible loss of everything she loved, still believing that being good might somehow fix everything. Emma Rose, he said carefully, what makes you think I'd be a good pretend daddy? She tilted her head, studying him seriously. You have kind eyes, and you didn't walk away when you saw me crying. Mama says people with good hearts stop to help when someone is sad. Damon had to look away for a moment to compose himself. When he looked back, Emma was still watching him with those hopeful green eyes. Your mama sounds very wise, he said. Tell me more about her. Emma's whole face changed, lighting up with pure love. Mama is the most beautiful mama in the world. She has hair like mine but longer. She works at the flower shop downtown. Well, she used to before she got sick. She knows the names of every single flower and what they mean. What do they mean? Damon asked. Roses mean love. Daisies mean new beginnings. Sunflowers mean loyalty. That's when you stick by someone no matter what. Emma's voice grew proud. Mama taught me that yellow roses mean friendship, but red roses mean the deepest love of all. And what's your mama's favorite flower? Emma's smile faltered a little. She says her favorite flower is me. She calls me her little wildflower because I'm strong and I can grow anywhere. Her voice dropped to a whisper. But I don't feel strong right now, Mr. Damon. I feel very scared. Damon reached out and gently touched her hand. Can I tell you a secret, Emma Rose? She nodded. Even the strongest people feel scared sometimes. But you know what makes someone truly strong? What? Asking for help when you need it, just like you did today. Damon squeezed her small hand gently. That took a lot of courage. So will you do it? Emma asked, her voice full of hope. Will you be my daddy for just one day? I promise I won't ask for anything else ever again. I'll be the best pretend daughter in the whole world. Damon looked at this brave little girl who was fighting battles no child should face, and he made a decision that would change both their lives forever. Emma Rose Patterson, he said solemnly, I would be honored to be your daddy for a day. The smile that spread across Emma's face was like watching the sun come up. She jumped up from her chair, and before he could react, threw her small arms around his neck. Thank you, thank you, thank you, she whispered into his ear. This is the best thing that's happened since Mama got sick. Damon hugged her back, feeling something he hadn't experienced in years, the simple joy of making someone else happy. But as he held this little girl, he also felt the weight of what he was taking on. Tomorrow he would have to walk into an elementary school and pretend to be someone's father. The thought terrified him. Emma, I have to tell you something, he said as she pulled back. I've never been a daddy before, real or pretend. What if I'm not good at it? Emma looked at him seriously, then patted his cheek with her small hand. Don't worry, Mr. Damon, I'll help you. Being a daddy is mostly just showing up and being proud of your kid. Mama told me that. The wisdom coming from this 6-year-old amazed him. Your mama really is smart. The smartest, Emma agreed. Do you want to meet her? She's probably awake now. Damon hesitated. Meeting Emma was one thing, but meeting her dying mother felt like crossing a line he wasn't sure he was ready to cross. But looking at Emma's eager face, he realized he was already across that line. I'd love to meet her, he said. Emma grabbed his hand and pulled him toward the door. Come on, I can't wait to tell her about tomorrow. As they walked down the hospital corridor, Emma chattering excitedly about her school and her teacher and how all the other kids were going to be so impressed, Damon wondered what he had gotten himself into. He ran a company worth hundreds of millions of dollars, but the thought of convincing a room full of 6-year-olds that he was someone's father felt like the biggest challenge of his life. They stopped outside room 314. Through the glass window, Damon could see a woman lying in the hospital bed. Even in sickness, he could see where Emma got her beauty. The woman had the same red hair, though hers was thin from treatment, and the same delicate features. Mama! Emma burst through the door. Mama! Wake up! I have the most amazing news! The woman's eyes fluttered open, and when she saw Emma, her whole face transformed with love. Hey, my little wildflower! What's got you so excited? Mama, this is Mr. Damon, and he's going to be my daddy tomorrow for Bring Your Daddy to School Day. Isn't that wonderful? Sarah Patterson's eyes moved from her daughter to the tall, well-dressed black man standing in the doorway. Damon saw surprise flash across her face, followed quickly by wariness. Emma, sweetheart, why don't you go get some juice from the nurse's station? Sarah said gently. Mr. Damon and I need to talk. But Mama… Go on, baby, take your time. Emma looked between them, sensing the tension, but obediently left the room with her teddy bear. Once they were alone, Sarah studied Damon carefully. Despite her illness, her voice was strong when she spoke. Who are you, and what do you want with my daughter? Damon stepped closer to the bed, keeping his hands visible and his voice calm. Mrs. Patterson, my name is Damon Carter. I'm the CEO of Carter Technologies. I was here for a business meeting when I found Emma crying in the family room. Sarah's eyes narrowed. And you just decided to play daddy to a strange child? I know how this must look, Damon said. I know you have every reason to be suspicious. If someone made this offer to my child, I'd have the same concerns. I don't know you from anyone, Sarah said bluntly. For all I know, you're some kind of predator who targets sick families. The accusation stung, but Damon understood it. You're absolutely right to be cautious. Here's what I can tell you. I can provide references, background checks, whatever you need. I understand completely if you say no. Sarah was quiet for a long moment, studying his face. Why? She finally asked. Why would a successful businessman want to spend his day pretending to be a father to a child he just met? Damon pulled up a chair beside her bed and sat down. Can I be honest with you, Mrs. Patterson? She nodded. I grew up in foster care. I aged out of the system at 18 with nothing but the clothes on my back and a determination to prove the world wrong about kids like me. Damon's voice grew quiet. I never knew my father. My mother died when I was Emma's age. I know what it feels like to be that kid without a parent at the school events. Sarah's expression softened slightly. I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you. But here's the thing. When Emma asked me to be her daddy for just one day, she wasn't just asking for someone to show up to her school. She was asking for someone to care enough to show up. That's something I can give her. And what do you get out of it? Sarah asked. Damon thought about the question. I get to be the person I needed when I was her age. I get to show a little girl that she matters. That seems like more than enough. Sarah studied him for several more moments. Emma said you have kind eyes. She's usually a good judge of character. She's an incredible little girl, Damon said. You should be very proud. I am. Sarah's voice cracked slightly. She's everything good in this world, and I'm terrified I'm going to have to leave her. The social worker came by today? Damon asked gently. Sarah nodded, tears beginning to form. My prognosis isn't good. The cancer has spread, and I don't have any family who can take Emma. If something happens to me… She couldn't finish the sentence. How long do you have? Damon asked softly. The doctors say maybe 6 months if I'm lucky. Sarah wiped her eyes. I spend every day trying to figure out how to prepare a 6-year-old for a world without her mama. Damon felt his chest tighten. Is there anything I can do to help? Sarah looked at him sharply. You don't even know us. You're right, Damon said. I don't know you. But I know what it's like to be a scared kid facing an uncertain future. And I know what it's like to wish someone, anyone, would step up and care. Emma bounded back into the room with a juice box. Are you two friends now? She asked hopefully. Sarah and Damon looked at each other. Mr. Damon and I are getting to know each other, Sarah said carefully. Does that mean he can still be my daddy tomorrow? Emma asked, climbing up onto her mother's bed. Sarah looked at Damon one more time. He could see her weighing everything. Her daughter's happiness against her protective instincts, hope against fear. If Mr. Damon really wants to go to your school tomorrow, and if he passes a background check, then yes, she said finally. Emma squealed with delight and hugged her mother tight. This is the best day ever. Over Emma's head, Sarah mouthed, thank you, to Damon. He nodded back, understanding the weight of the trust she was placing in him. Emma, Sarah said, why don't you tell Mr. Damon about your school and your teacher? Emma launched into an excited description of Ms. Rodriguez and her classroom, and how they were studying butterflies, and how she had drawn the best butterfly in the whole class. Damon listened, asking questions and making appropriate sounds of amazement, but part of his mind was already working. A background check was no problem. His record was spotless. But there were other things to consider. What did he wear to an elementary school? What did fathers talk about with their children's classmates? What if someone asked questions he couldn't answer? "Mr. Damon," Emma said, interrupting his thoughts, "what kind of work do you do?" "I run a technology company," he said. "We make computer programs that help other businesses work better." Emma's eyes lit up. "That's so cool. Tommy's dad works at the bank and Katie's dad fixes cars, but nobody's dad makes computer stuff." "What does your company do exactly?" Sarah asked, curious despite herself. "We develop software solutions for supply chain management," Damon explained. "Basically, we help companies figure out the most efficient ways to get their products from point A to point B." "That sounds very impressive," Sarah said. "It pays the bills," Damon said modestly, though they both knew someone who owned a tech company was probably doing quite well for himself. "Are you married, Mr. Damon?" Emma asked innocently. "Do you have kids?" The question hit harder than he expected. "No, Emma, I'm not married, and I don't have any children." "Why not?" Emma asked with the blunt curiosity of a child. "Emma," Sarah warned gently, "that's a personal question." "It's okay," Damon said. He looked at Emma seriously. "I guess I've been so busy building my business that I forgot to build a family, too." Emma nodded as if this made perfect sense. "Well, now you can practice being a daddy with me. Maybe it will help you be ready when you find a mama to marry." The simple way she said it made both adults smile despite the heavy emotions in the room. "Emma, it's getting late," Sarah said, glancing at the clock. "Tomorrow is a school day." "But I'm too excited to sleep," Emma protested. "If you want Mr. Damon to come to your school tomorrow, you need to be well rested," Sarah said firmly. "Go brush your teeth and get in your pajamas." Emma slid off the bed and hugged Damon around the waist. "Thank you for saying yes, Mr. Damon. This is going to be the best bring your daddy to school day ever." After Emma went to get ready for bed, Sarah and Damon sat in comfortable silence for a moment. "I need to ask you something," Sarah said finally. "Are you doing this because you feel sorry for us?" Damon considered the question carefully. "Partly yes, but not in the way you think. I don't pity you or Emma. What I see is a little girl who's facing something incredibly difficult with more courage than most adults would have. And I see a mother who's doing everything she can to make sure her daughter feels loved and secure even in impossible circumstances. That's not something to pity. That's something to admire." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "It's so hard, trying to be strong for her when I'm falling apart inside." "You don't have to be strong all the time," Damon said gently. "That's an impossible standard." "She's all I have," Sarah whispered. "If I'm not strong for her, who will be?" Damon leaned forward in his chair. "Sarah, can I ask you something? What happens if your treatment doesn't work? What happens to Emma?" Sarah's face crumpled. "She'll go into foster care. The social worker says they'll try to find her a good family, but..." She trailed off, unable to voice her fears. "But you know how the system works," Damon finished softly. Sarah nodded. "I've heard the stories. Some kids are lucky, but others..." She shook her head. "Emma is so innocent, so trusting. What if she ends up somewhere that breaks her spirit?" Damon felt that familiar fire in his chest, the same anger that had driven him to build his company, to prove everyone wrong, to never accept that circumstances had to define outcomes. "What if there was another option?" he asked quietly. Sarah looked at him sharply. "What do you mean?" "I mean, what if Emma didn't have to go into the system?" "Mr. Carter," Sarah said, her voice taking on a warning tone. "We just met. You can't possibly be suggesting..." "I'm not suggesting anything," Damon said quickly. "I'm just asking what if. What would you want for Emma if you could choose anything? Sarah was quiet for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was barely audible. I'd want her to stay with someone who loves her, someone who sees how special she is, someone who would encourage her dreams and help her grow into the amazing woman I know she's going to be. And what kind of person would that be? Someone patient. Someone who understands that she's been through trauma and might need extra care. Someone who... Sarah stopped, looking at him suspiciously. Why are you asking me this? Because, Damon said carefully, I want to understand what would give you peace of mind. Before Sarah could respond, Emma came running back into the room in her pajamas, a purple set with butterflies all over them. I'm ready for bed, Mama, she announced, climbing back onto the hospital bed. Good girl, Sarah said, wrapping her arms around her daughter. Now, what time does Mr. Damon need to pick you up tomorrow? School starts at 8, but the daddy presentations don't start until 9, Emma said. Can you come at 8:30, Mr. Damon? That way I can show you my classroom first. 8:30 sounds perfect, Damon said. Should I pick you up here at the hospital? Oh, Emma's face fell. I forgot I have to take the bus from here because Mama can't drive me. Actually, Damon said, how about I give you a ride to school? Would that be okay with your Mama? Sarah looked uncertain. That's very kind, but... Please, Mama, Emma begged. I've never ridden in a really nice car before. Sarah looked between her daughter's hopeful face and Damon's sincere expression. All right, she said finally. But you have to promise to be on your best behavior. I promise! Emma threw her arms around her mother's neck. This is the most exciting thing that's ever happened to me. As Emma settled in for the night, chattering about everything she wanted to show Mr. Damon at school, Damon quietly exchanged contact information with Sarah and arranged to return in the morning. Mr. Carter, Sarah said as he prepared to leave. Thank you. I know I was suspicious at first, but Emma hasn't smiled this much since she found out I was sick. Whatever your reasons, you've given her something to be excited about. She's given me something too, Damon said. I just hope I don't disappoint her. Just show up, Sarah said. That's more than most people do. As Damon left the hospital that night, his mind was racing. He had a business empire to run, meetings to attend, deals to close. But all he could think about was a little girl with red curls and green eyes who had asked him to be her daddy for just one day. He drove home to his penthouse apartment and looked around at his pristine, empty life. The awards on his walls, the expensive art, the view of the city skyline, it all felt hollow compared to the joy in Emma's eyes when he had said yes. That night, Damon lay awake planning what he would say at Emma's school. He researched child development, read articles about father-daughter relationships, and even practiced introducing himself in the mirror. Nothing felt adequate. But as he finally drifted off to sleep, he remembered Emma's words. Being a daddy is mostly just showing up and being proud of your kid. Maybe it really was that simple. The next morning, Damon arrived at the hospital at exactly 8:15, wearing a navy suit he hoped was appropriate for an elementary school visit. He had stopped at a florist on the way, not because he had to, but because he remembered Emma talking about her mother's love of flowers. He found Emma waiting in her mother's room, practically bouncing with excitement. She wore a pink dress with white flowers on it, and her red hair was pulled back in neat pigtails. Mr. Damon, she squealed, running to hug him. You look so handsome! All the other kids are going to think I have the best daddy ever. You look pretty special yourself, Emma Rose, he said, then turned to Sarah. Good morning. How are you feeling today? Better. Knowing Emma is so happy, Sarah said. She looked tired, but her eyes were bright as she watched her daughter. These are for you, Damon said, offering Sarah the small bouquet he had brought, yellow roses mixed with daisies. Sarah's eyes widened. You remembered what Emma told you about flowers. Friendship and new beginnings, Emma said proudly. That's perfect, Mr. Damon. As they prepared to leave for school, Sarah pulled Damon aside. I've been thinking about what you asked last night, she said quietly. About what I want for Emma. And? I want her to know she's loved. I want her to remember that she comes from love, even when I'm gone. Sarah's voice was steady, but Damon could see the effort it took. If you're really serious about being part of her life somehow, then we need to talk. Really talk. I'd like that, Damon said. After school today? Sarah nodded. After school. The drive to Emma's elementary school was filled with her excited chatter about her classmates, her teacher, and everything she wanted to show Damon. He found himself genuinely interested in her stories, asking follow-up questions and laughing at her 6-year-old humor. Mr. Damon, Emma said as they pulled into the school parking lot. Are you nervous? A little bit, he admitted. Are you? Emma considered this seriously. A little bit too, but mostly I'm excited. I've never had a daddy to bring to school before. Well, I've never been anyone's daddy at school before, so we're both trying something new. Emma grinned. We can be nervous together. Lincoln Elementary School was a cheerful building with colorful murals on the walls and children's artwork displayed in every window. As they walked through the halls, Emma proudly introduced Damon to every teacher, janitor, and parent they encountered. This is my daddy for today, Mr. Damon, she would say, beaming with pride. Emma's classroom was bright and welcoming, with Ms. Rodriguez, a kind woman in her 30s, greeting them warmly at the door. You must be Emma's father, she said to Damon. Emma has been so excited about today. I'm honored to be here, Damon said, shaking her hand. Emma talks about you all the time. Thank you for everything you do for her. Ms. Rodriguez smiled. Emma is one of our brightest stars. She's been through so much, but she never lets it dim her light. The morning flew by as Damon participated in classroom activities, helped with a math lesson, and listened as Emma proudly showed off her butterfly project. When it came time for the father presentations, Emma introduced him to the class with such genuine pride that several other parents commented on what a sweet daughter he had. My daddy makes computer programs that help businesses work better, Emma said, standing beside Damon at the front of the classroom. He's really smart and really nice, and he has the kindest eyes in the whole world. As Damon spoke to the class about his work, keeping it simple and engaging for 6-year-olds, he watched Emma's face glow with happiness. Several times, she reached over to hold his hand or lean against his arm, and each touch sent a wave of unfamiliar emotion through him. During lunch, Emma sat beside him in the cafeteria, sharing her sandwich and proudly introducing him to friends who had heard about her daddy for a day. Mr. Damon, she said quietly as they ate, this is the best day of my whole life. Mine too, Emma Rose, he said, and realized he meant it completely. After school, as they drove back to the hospital, Emma chattered about everything that had happened, but gradually grew quieter. Mr. Damon, she said finally, tomorrow I won't have a daddy anymore, will I? The question broke his heart. What do you mean, sweetheart? Well, today was just for one day, right? Tomorrow you'll go back to your regular life and I'll just be Emma again, not Emma with a daddy. Damon pulled over to the side of the road and turned to face her. Emma Rose, can I tell you something very important? She nodded solemnly. Today wasn't just about pretending. Today was about two people who needed each other finding each other. You needed someone to show up for you, and I needed someone to show up for. That doesn't just end because the school day is over. What does that mean? Emma asked. It means that if it's okay with your mama, and if you want me to, I'd like to keep being part of your life. Not just for one day, but for as many days as you'll have me. Emma's eyes grew wide. Really? You want to keep being my daddy? I want to keep being whatever you need me to be, Damon said carefully. We'll have to talk to your mama about what that looks like. But yes, Emma, I want to be in your life. Emma unbuckled her seatbelt and threw her arms around his neck. I love you, Daddy, she whispered. The word hit him like lightning. In all his success, All his achievements, nothing had ever felt as important as this little girl calling him daddy and meaning it. "I love you too, Emma Rose," he whispered back, and knew that everything in his life had just changed forever. When they arrived back at the hospital, Emma burst into her mother's room with stories about her perfect day. As she described every detail, Damon watched Sarah's face. The joy at seeing her daughter so happy mixed with something that looked like relief. After Emma finally tired herself out and fell asleep, curled up on her mother's bed, Sarah and Damon stepped out into the hallway to talk. "She called you Daddy," Sarah said quietly. "I know, I hope that was okay." Sarah was quiet for a long moment. "This morning you asked me what I wanted for Emma. I've been thinking about it all day. And? I want her to have what I can't give her. A future. A real future. With someone who will love her unconditionally and help her become whoever she's meant to be." Sarah's voice was steady, but tears were streaming down her face. "I want her to have a father." Damon felt his throat tighten. "Sarah, let me finish," she said. "I don't have much time left and I need to say this. I've watched you with Emma today. Ms. Rodriguez called to tell me how wonderful you were with her and the other children. I see how Emma looks at you, and how you look at her. This isn't just about one day anymore, is it?" "No," Damon said honestly. "It's not." "What are you proposing?" Sarah asked bluntly. Damon took a deep breath. "I'm proposing that we explore the possibility of me adopting Emma, if that's what you want, and if it's what's best for her." Sarah stared at him. "You want to adopt my daughter? You've known her for 2 days." "I know how that sounds," Damon said. "But sometimes life doesn't follow the timeline we expect. Sometimes we meet someone who changes everything, and we have to decide whether to follow our hearts or play it safe." "This isn't just about you following your heart," Sarah said sharply. "This is about my daughter's entire future." "You're absolutely right," Damon said, "and that's exactly why I want to do this right. Background checks, home studies, counseling, whatever it takes. I want you to be completely confident that Emma will be loved and cared for." Sarah studied his face for a long time. "Why?" she asked finally. "Why would you want to take on a grieving 6-year-old and all the complications that come with her?" Damon thought about the question, really thought about it. "Because when Emma asked me to be her daddy for just 1 day, she gave me something I didn't even know I was missing. She gave me purpose beyond just building wealth or achieving success. She gave me the chance to be the person I needed when I was her age." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "But more than that, Sarah, Emma is extraordinary. She's brave and kind and resilient and full of love despite everything she's been through. Any man would be lucky to call her his daughter. The fact that she chose me, even for 1 day, is the greatest honor of my life." Sarah wiped her eyes. "She does seem to have chosen you, doesn't she?" "I think we chose each other," Damon said softly. "If we do this," Sarah said carefully, "I need to know that you understand what you're taking on. Emma has been through trauma. She's going to grieve. There will be difficult days, probably years of them. Are you prepared for that?" "No," Damon said honestly. "I'm not prepared, but I'm committed to learning how to help her heal. I'm committed to getting her whatever support she needs, therapy, counseling, whatever it takes." "And what about your work, your life? You can't just add a child to your existence and expect nothing to change." "Everything would have to change," Damon agreed. "My priorities, my schedule, my entire life. But Sarah, I've spent the last 20 years building a company. I've achieved every goal I set for myself. And at the end of the day, I go home to an empty apartment and wonder what it was all for. Emma has already shown me what it's for. It's to build something that matters, and nothing matters more than giving a child a chance at happiness." Sarah was quiet for several minutes, clearly wrestling with the decision. "I need time to think about this, and I need to talk to Emma, really talk to her about what this would mean." "Of course," Damon said. "This is the biggest decision you'll ever make for her. Take all the time you need." How much time do we have? Sarah asked, and they both knew she wasn't talking about the adoption process. The doctors say 6 months, maybe less. Sarah's voice was matter-of-fact, but Damon could see the pain behind it. If we're going to do this, we need to start soon. I want to be part of the process for as long as possible. Over the next few weeks, Damon became a regular presence at the hospital. He would visit Emma after work, help her with homework, read her stories, and just sit with her when Sarah was having bad days. He hired the best lawyers and social workers to begin the adoption process, understanding that even with Sarah's consent, the system moved slowly. Emma flourished under the attention. Her teachers reported that she was more focused in school, more confident, happier. The other children had accepted Damon's continued presence as natural. Emma's daddy came to school events, helped with class projects, and was there whenever she needed him. But it was the quiet moments that meant the most to Damon. The way Emma would curl up next to him while he read to her. How she would save her best drawings to show him. The way she had started calling him daddy without any prompting, as naturally as breathing. One evening, about a month after their first meeting, Emma was doing homework at the small table in her mother's hospital room while Damon helped her with math problems. "Daddy," she said suddenly, looking up from her worksheet, "what happens when Mama goes to heaven?" The question hung in the air. Sarah, who had been pretending to sleep, opened her eyes. This was the conversation they had all been avoiding. Damon set down his pencil and looked at Emma seriously. "What do you think happens, sweetheart?" Emma chewed on her lip, thinking, "I think Mama will still love me, but she won't be able to hug me anymore. And I think I'll be very sad for a long time." "You're absolutely right about both of those things," Damon said gently. "Your mama will always love you no matter what. And yes, you'll be sad. It's okay to be sad when someone we love goes away." "But you'll still be here, right?" Emma asked, and Damon could hear the fear underneath the question. "I will be here for as long as you want me to be," Damon promised. "And even when you're sad about Mama, I'll be here to hug you and take care of you." Emma nodded solemnly, then went back to her math problems, as if she hadn't just asked one of life's most difficult questions. Later, after Emma had fallen asleep, Sarah and Damon stepped out into the hallway. "She's starting to understand," Sarah said quietly. "She's a smart kid. She knows more than we think she does." "Are you sure about this, Damon? Really sure? Because once I'm gone, there's no taking it back. Emma will have already lost one parent. She can't lose another." Damon looked through the window at Emma, sleeping peacefully with her teddy bear. "Sarah, I've never been more sure of anything in my life. That little girl has become the center of my world. I can't imagine my life without her in it." "The social worker called today," Sarah said. "The preliminary paperwork has been approved. If we move forward, the adoption could be finalized within 3 months." "What do you want to do?" Damon asked. Sarah was quiet for a long moment. "I want to do what's best for Emma. And what's best for Emma is having a father who loves her unconditionally. You've already proven that you do." "So we move forward?" "We move forward," Sarah said firmly. "I want Emma to have as much time as possible to adjust while I'm still here to help." The next morning, they told Emma together. She listened seriously as they explained that Damon was going to become her real daddy forever through something called adoption. "Does that mean you'll live with me instead of just visiting?" Emma asked. "It means we'll live together and I'll take care of you, and you'll be my daughter legally and officially," Damon explained. Emma thought about this for a moment. "And when other kids ask about my daddy, I can say you're my real daddy, not just my pretend daddy." "That's exactly right," Damon said. Emma launched herself into his arms. "I've never had a real daddy before. This is the best news ever." The adoption process moved quickly with Sarah's full cooperation and Damon's resources. Home studies were conducted, interviews were completed, and references were checked. Emma spent weekends at Damon's apartment, helping him transform his sterile bachelor pad into a real home. They painted her room purple with white butterflies on the walls. They shopped for furniture and toys and books. Emma insisted on picking out decorations for the whole apartment, adding color and warmth to every room. "It needs to feel like a family lives here," she explained seriously as she arranged flowers in a vase. "Mama says flowers make everything feel like home." As the weeks passed, Sarah grew weaker. There were good days and bad days, but the bad days were becoming more frequent. Emma handled it with a maturity that broke Damon's heart, but he could see the toll it was taking on her. One particularly difficult evening, after Sarah had been in pain all day, Emma crawled into Damon's lap in the hospital chair and whispered, "Daddy, I'm scared." "What are you scared of, baby?" "I'm scared that when Mama dies, I'll forget what she looks like, or what her voice sounds like, or how she smells when she hugs me." Damon held her tighter. "Emma, do you want to know a secret?" She nodded against his chest. "Love lives in our hearts, not in our memory. Even if you forget little details about Mama, you'll never forget how much she loves you. That lives inside you forever." "Really? Really? And we're going to make sure you have lots of pictures and videos and stories about Mama so you can remember everything important." Emma was quiet for a while, then said, "Daddy, will you tell me about my Mama when I'm older? Will you help me remember the good stuff?" "Every day if you want me to," Damon promised. "Your Mama is the most important person in your story, Emma. I will never let you forget how special she is." 2 weeks before the adoption was set to be finalized, Sarah took a turn for the worse. The doctors moved her to hospice care, and everyone knew time was running out. Emma handled the transition with heartbreaking bravery, but Damon could see she was struggling. She had nightmares, clung to him constantly, and asked the same questions over and over. "You won't leave me too, will you, Daddy?" Each time, Damon reassured her with absolute certainty. "I will never leave you, Emma Rose. Never." On a quiet Thursday afternoon, Sarah asked to speak with Damon alone. Emma was at school, giving them a rare moment of privacy. "I need you to promise me something," Sarah said, her voice weak but determined. "Anything," Damon said. "I need you to promise that you'll help Emma remember that her Mama fought to stay with her, that I didn't want to leave her, that every single day I had with her was a gift." "I promise," Damon said, his voice thick with emotion. "And I need you to promise that you'll let her be sad. Don't try to fix her grief or rush her through it. Just love her through it." "I promise that too." Sarah reached out and took his hand. "When I first got sick, I was so angry at God for giving Emma such a hard life. First no father, then losing her mother so young. But now I think maybe God knew exactly what he was doing." "What do you mean?" "He was preparing her heart to recognize her real father when he showed up," Sarah said softly. "You weren't late, Damon. You were right on time." That evening, after Emma had finished her homework and eaten dinner, she curled up next to her mother's bed with a book. "Mama, will you read to me?" she asked. Sarah smiled weakly. "I'm pretty tired tonight, baby. Maybe Daddy could read to us." Damon picked up the book, one of Emma's favorites about a little girl who could talk to animals. As he read, he watched Emma's face in the soft hospital lighting. She was growing up too fast, handling things no 6-year-old should have to handle. But she was doing it with such grace and courage. When the story was finished, Emma kissed her mother goodnight and crawled into the small cot that had been set up for her in the room. Within minutes, she was asleep. "She's going to be okay," Sarah whispered to Damon. "She has you now." "She's going to be more than okay," Damon said. "She's going to be loved every day of her life." Sarah smiled. That's all any mother can ask for. Sarah Patterson died peacefully in her sleep 3 days later, on a Tuesday morning in October. Emma woke up to find the nurses gently checking on her mother, and somehow, with the intuition that children sometimes have, she knew immediately. "Mama went to heaven, didn't she?" she whispered to Damon. "Yes, sweetheart, she did." Emma nodded solemnly, then crawled into Damon's lap and cried, until there were no tears left. He held her and rocked her and promised her over and over that she was safe, that she was loved, that she would never be alone. The funeral was small but beautiful. Emma insisted on wearing her pink dress with flowers, the same one she had worn to school on their first Daddy Day. She stood beside Damon at the graveside, holding his hand tightly, and thanked everyone who came to say goodbye to her mama. Mama would be happy that so many people loved her, Emma said to Ms. Rodriguez, who had come with several other teachers from school. After the service, as they drove home to Damon's apartment, which was now officially Emma's home too, Emma was unusually quiet. "Daddy," she said finally, "am I an orphan now?" The question caught Damon off guard. "What do you mean, baby?" "An orphan is a kid with no parents. I don't have a mama anymore, and I never had a daddy before you. So am I an orphan?" Damon pulled over and turned to face her. "Emma Rose Carter," he said, using her new legal name for the first time. "You are not an orphan. You are my daughter. You have a daddy who loves you more than anything in the world, and you always will." Emma smiled for the first time in days. "I like my new name. Emma Rose Carter sounds very important." "That's because you are very important," Damon said. "You're the most important person in the world." The first few months after Sarah's death were difficult. Emma grieved deeply, having bad days mixed with good ones. She saw a child therapist who specialized in grief counseling, and slowly, gradually, she began to heal. Damon learned to navigate the world of single parenthood, school pickup lines, playdates, bedtime routines, and the constant worry that he wasn't doing enough or doing it right. But Emma was patient with him as he learned, just as he was patient with her as she grieved. They developed their own routines and traditions. Saturday morning pancakes while they planned their weekend. Sunday visits to Sarah's grave with fresh flowers. Bedtime stories every night, even when Damon was traveling for business. Emma's room became a gallery of her artwork, her achievements, and her memories. Pictures of Sarah were everywhere, and Damon made sure Emma felt comfortable talking about her mother whenever she wanted to. 6 months after the adoption was finalized, Damon was tucking Emma into bed when she said, "Daddy, I have something to tell you." "What's that, sweetheart?" Emma sat up in bed, looking serious. "When I first asked you to be my daddy for just one day, I was hoping maybe you'd like me enough to stay longer." "Really?" Damon sat down on the edge of her bed. "You had a plan?" Emma grinned, looking more like her old self than she had in months. "I asked God to send me a daddy who would love me forever. When I saw you in the hospital that day, something in my heart told me you might be the one." "And what does your heart tell you now?" Damon asked. Emma wrapped her small arms around his neck. "It tells me I was right. You're exactly the daddy I asked for." A year later, on the anniversary of the day they first met, Damon and Emma returned to the children's hospital. But this time, they weren't there as patients or visitors. They were there as volunteers. Damon had started a foundation in Sarah's memory, providing support for single parents facing serious illnesses and helping children in the foster care system. Emma, now 7 and thriving, helped him visit children who were scared and alone. Sometimes, Emma would tell the younger children, "When you ask for help, amazing things happen. I asked a stranger to be my daddy for just one day, and he ended up being my daddy forever." On this particular visit, they met a little boy named James, whose mother was sick, and who was worried about what would happen to him. Emma sat with him in the family room, sharing her crayons and telling him about butterflies and new beginnings. "My daddy says that sometimes the worst things that happen to us lead to the best things," Emma told James. "I thought losing my mama was the end of everything good, but it was really the beginning of everything better." As Damon watched his daughter comfort another frightened child, he thought about the journey that had brought them together. A desperate little girl's plea in a hospital corridor. A successful man's empty life suddenly filled with purpose. A mother's dying wish to see her daughter loved. "Daddy," Emma said that evening as they drove home, "do you think Mama knows how happy we are?" "I think she knows," Damon said, "and I think she's proud of the amazing young lady you're becoming." Emma smiled and looked out the window at the city lights. "I miss her every day, but I'm not sad anymore. How can I be sad when I have the best daddy in the world? I love you too, Emma Rose, Damon said. More than you'll ever know. I know exactly how much, Emma said confidently. Forever and always and beyond the stars. Forever and always and beyond the stars, Damon repeated, and meant every word. As they pulled into their driveway, Emma suddenly said, Daddy, can I tell you a secret? Always. Sometimes I still can't believe this is real. That I have a daddy who comes to all my school things and helps with homework and makes me feel safe every day. It's like the best dream ever. Except I never have to wake up. Damon felt his eyes fill with tears. You know what, Emma Rose? I feel exactly the same way. And as they walked into their home together, a home filled with love and laughter and the everyday magic of being a family, Damon reflected on how one little girl's courage to ask for help had saved them both. Emma had asked him to be her daddy for just one day. Instead, she had given him the chance to be her father for a lifetime, and in return, he had given her something even more valuable, the security of knowing that she would never, ever be alone again. The little girl who had once pleaded with a stranger in a hospital corridor was now a confident, happy child who knew without doubt that she was loved. And the man who had spent years building a business empire had discovered that his greatest success would always be the day he said yes to a scared little girl who just wanted someone to show up for her. Some stories begin with endings, with loss and fear and desperate pleas for help. But the best stories, the ones that matter most, are about how love can transform even the most broken beginnings into the most beautiful forever afters. And this story, the story of Emma Rose Carter and her daddy Damon, was one of those stories. It began with just one day and became a lifetime of love, proving that sometimes the most extraordinary families are born not from biology, but from the simple courage to ask for help and the generous heart willing to answer yes. Dear friends, thank you so much for watching. Please support me by subscribing to my channel. And don't forget to like and share this video. It means the world to me. Take care of yourself, and never forget how much you're loved. I can't wait to see you in the next video. Sending you all my love.